So I'm going to do a few videos on this because since I've started this, I've wanted to get what I'm not allowed to call, according to someone on YouTube, a Windows handheld. I wanted a handheld that ran Windows. I just wanted to try it out. And now Ayaneo reached out to me and sent me their Ayaneo 2S. It's one of their more expensive devices, and so I need to be critical in this video, but tempered with some excitement about just having this device in my hands. And also, this device is a bit of a dichotomy, word of the day, because there's a lot that is really exceptional about this device. There's a few little things that are, why is this in such a high-priced device? So we're going to get into it and get excited about the Ayaneo 2S. But you're watching this and thinking, $1,000 for a gaming device? I would rather spend that money developing something that I'll probably never make. PCBWay are today's sponsors, and they help people develop custom PCBs. They do CNC milling. They do plastic molding for cases like this. And so you can work with them and build your own gaming console. You can build your own console. You can build your own things that are not available in the stores. So head on over to the website. They've got a help center. They've got a very fully functioning ordering system. You can go there and order what you need and get it sent to your doorstep straight from PCBWay. So thanks so much to PCBWay for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so I'm going to play a bit of the unboxing footage. Whoa. The initial setup was pretty easy. Just followed the Windows prompts. Ayaneo also had some prompts for me with their AYASPACE to update the graphics drivers and that sort of thing. So everything was pretty much up and running after, actually it took a while because Windows, all the updates. So it took about an hour to get it up and running. The AYASPACE app is pretty comprehensive. So AYASPACE 2.0 allows you to customize some of the buttons, allows you to set up AYASPACE to do certain things. You've got the pop-up menu, which allows you to control the power. Like, so now we've got power profiles, which is quite nice, just like the Steamdeck actually. So we've got extreme, balanced, and saving power. So I can put it on saving power now. It drops it down to 5 watts, 6 watts. That's for just browsing around and maybe playing some light games. So it has the power profiles, and ever since I discovered the power profiles, that's pretty much all I do. Just takes the guesswork out of it and makes it a little bit easier to use. I'm sure the nerds out there will say this and that and a little tweak on this, but it really does make life easy, especially when you've got so much to think of starting up a Windows device like this. I saw there are a bunch of videos online about this device, but they're all about a year old. And it's changed quite drastically, so I don't know if I should do a video about AYASPACE itself, but you can scrape through for any game. So if you go onto your Steam, which I'm like mostly using games on Steam, you download your games there, and then AYASPACE will actually scrape and find those games. But if you have games from other places, for instance, Microsoft games or other games, it'll scrape them and find them for you. What I wanted to talk about here is the settings. So you can go into settings, you can tweak your controller, so you can set the sensitivity of your joysticks, you can set the sensitivity of the analog triggers, you can set like turbo mode on action buttons. You can even enable Motion X, which is like using your, I reckon, I haven't tested it yet, but you can use this as almost like a mouse mode for a bit of a VR experience. You can set your VRAM here. VRAM, it's a virtual RAM, so it's using RAM for the GPU from the normal RAM. That's as far as my understanding of that goes, so you can set that. There's a few other bits and bobs you can sort out there through AYASPACE. I'm not sure if I'll use AYASPACE because I am a big Steam user, and so I'm just using Steam in big picture mode. Quite interesting on this device, we don't have backpaddles, but we do have RC and LC, which are not backpaddle substitutes. But these are more an Aya thing. So I have set long press on the RC to open Steam, and then I have set Steam to only open in big picture mode. So it just converts it into a Steamdeck immediately. Getting back to the paddles, if you are a fan of using paddle buttons, which I've just started to get used to on my Steamdeck, this doesn't have those. And we'll talk more about design. This device is more of a form over function where, and yeah, we're going to talk about ergonomics now, because They would rather do away with paddles to make the back of this device look pretty than have ugly paddles on the back. But yeah, that is kind of the Ayaneo way. So the vibration motor on here is not good. Like, I don't know how to swing this in a positive way. Okay, that's on high. Using high is to simulate if you're in a quiet room and that thing's going off. So for instance, I was playing The Last of Us Part 1 and it does these little vibrations. And on the Steamdeck, you feel it in your hand, but you don't hear it. It's just, and someone did explain to me online what the difference is. But essentially, this feels like a Nokia 3310. My Steamdeck just feels like an Xbox controller. And so they tout that it has some cool technology for the rumble motor. And I must say, there are a few little quirks about this being a boutique handheld. And I think this is the only thing that really bugs me. The fact that they did this. A rumble motor can really add to the experience, especially of a nice big handheld like this. And I'm not using it because it just is like they're even low. I can hear, if I'm playing on my own, it's quite annoying. Sorry to hop on about that, but that is, I think, the one thing that I'm drawing a line in the sand for this video and saying, that's a bit of a weird thing and a bit of an unacceptable feature on such an expensive device. Okay, moving on. A little multitasking thing I discovered that is really nice is you press the right bumper and the right trigger together, and then your D-pad becomes okay, that opens Task Manager. There we go, we got multitasking open. Oh, that opens that, which is actually silly because I've got this for that. This is the AYASPACE overlay. And then that's a screenshot. So I do a lot of screenshots when I'm gaming, so that's nice. And I like the multitasking, very useful in Windows. And another cool thing with the controls, with this overlay, is I had to Google it, but the enable mapping is enabling your joystick as a mouse and your action buttons as mouse buttons. So you can disable it and enable it there. Once you know that, it becomes like second nature, but now I can use this as a mouse, which is quite handy. So that kind of is a bit of a workaround for the fact that this doesn't have a trackpad, which is one of my points, compared to the Steam Deck. But I've seen people say, oh, I use the trackpad on my Steam Deck all the time. And it does make the Steam Deck, look at the length of the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is a bit narrower by the screen. The screen area, the middle area of the device is narrower on the Steam Deck, but look at that difference in size. That is a huge difference in size, and that's to the fact that the Ayaneo 2S does not have trackpads, and they have gone for a less ergonomic button layout. Obviously, everyone loves the ergonomics of the Steam Deck. I don't know many people that don't. This is the ultimate in terms of that, and we'll talk about that now. But in terms of the sacrifice they've made, it is a lot shorter. And then in case I haven't spoken about this enough, this Ayaneo button here, you press and hold, it goes into AYASPACE, which is where you can manage games and you can manage the settings for the device, which I've mentioned is quite nice. And then I can go out of there. But also what you can do, this little button here, there's a little button next to the AYASPACE button, and that is a desktop button. So that takes you to the desktop. That is very nice. The joysticks are excellent. I've put their little joystick caps, which we'll talk about the accessories now. They are excellent. They are full-sized, smooth, delightful joysticks. These are probably better than my Steam Deck joysticks. They've got great calibration and you can make them less sensitive. Very nice joysticks. That's why I am a little bit disappointed in the rumble motor, because there's other features on here that are just so premium and so perfect. Which brings me on to the D-pad. I haven't done any retro gaming here, which will really put the D-pad to its test, but it's a small D-pad, a rubber membrane. So it's rubber membrane and small, which is not really the best combination, but I've been playing modern games. I've been playing The Last of Us mostly on here, which you don't really use the D-pad for like actual action, but it's a really nice feeling D-pad, really nice looking D-pad. So we'll do a little bit of retro testing here and see how that goes. But it is a rubber membrane, and so are the action buttons are rubber membrane buttons, and I do really like them. They are a lot like the Retroid Pocket devices, their buttons. A little bit clackety, but very nice feeling to use. And then the triggers, I'm going to talk about the fact that this is definitely a boutique device. It's got a bit of a handcrafted vibe to it, where these triggers, I saw someone mention how comically large these triggers are, and I wasn't really going to mention it. They are very big, but what I don't like about them is this. Someone said theirs had a cushioning here, so I'm not sure if they decided to change that in manufacturing, but that is quite a... Let's just check the Steamdeck what that does. There's definitely dampening on the Steamdeck compared to this. So very clackety, but very nice, smooth triggers, and they are big. But the thing is, because of the strange ergonomics of this device, the big triggers really are needed for quality gaming. And these trigger buttons are lovely soft press triggers. They're not clicky. It's a soft press, and I really like them. Really nice. So I'm going to I wrote down here some of my sort of first impressions the moment I opened it, and I just wrote those feelings down. And I noticed that the screen is far more responsive for things like on-screen keyboard compared to the Steam Deck. Could also have to do with the performance, but I think this is just a better screen than the Steam Deck. And so using this as a little tablet is really nice. And then Windows just feels so familiar. I use Windows every day, and it just feels nice to have an extension of my computer here, or this being, if this ends up being your computer and you dock it, and then you move away and it's all there on a touch screen. And I did notice that it heats up really fast, and it's just hot all the time. And I've set it to auto, and it seems to be managing it quite well. It gets warm, but it doesn't get ridiculously warm. It's a hot device. They had issues with cooling in the 2, I think, and so they made a bigger vent here, and that fan is definitely working overtime. Hopefully there are parts for a replacement fan someday in the future. And then the smell of this device. It's like absolutely intoxicating. It just smells, in the unboxing I said, it smells like outdoor outfitting gear. Like when you walk into one of those stores and you get that like lovely new smell. That's what this smells like. And I mean, it's going away sadly. But the smell is so good. And I wanted to mention this little SD card slot. This SD card slot is not good. Sorry to say. It's a very nice design, but I find it's halfway open most of the time. And I also found now, as I opened it, I think the heat of this device loosened the glue on, there's a little metal inlay there, and that actually just fell out now. So it's not the best SD card holder, and I know that's one of the first things I noticed. It's like first impressions, janky SD card slot. I think design is one of the big reasons you would choose the Ayaneo over other devices. This is beautifully designed. It's almost over-designed to the point where it's form over function. I was talking to Carrie from The Fox yesterday, and he was saying he's a function over form kind of a guy. I probably swing it slightly in the other direction. And this is just beauty over functionality, where you've got these vertical control button layouts, which looks really pretty with this little inlay, but it's highly impractical. You've got the lovely glass front, which is just beautiful, which also creates this round wraparound holding environment, which is really nice. People are complaining about LEDs on joysticks. These are really nice LEDs. The function buttons are really nice. These triggers are huge, and it also sits nicely on a desk with those triggers. It allows, I think, the reason they did that, again, form over function, the reason they did that, so when you put it on the table, it's level. Little things like that make it lovely. The plastic itself is very beautifully done, and we'll talk about the ergonomics of these bumps, but they really do look very nice. And overall, just probably the best design in a handheld so far. Like, it really is beautiful. Talking about the screen, I'm glad I actually did a retake of this section of the video, because up until this point, I've been gaming mostly. And then today was the first day where I used it for admin. I actually plugged it into the dock that is dockable, and I did some work. I did some photo editing. I did a little bit of looking at videos. And therein lies the problem that I found with this screen. It's beautiful and it's great for browsing and all that kind of thing, and it's perfect for gaming. But my photos looked washed out, my videos looked washed out. And so I do find that it's boosting the highlights too much. And so I'm sure there's a mod out there because the stock standard Windows settings are not working. I know with my laptop, Gigabytes actually ship it with a special custom color gamut to fix Windows standard settings for the screen. So there probably is a workaround for that. So here's The Last of Us. It's not going to translate very well on YouTube, but the highlights are blown out, but the colors look very natural. You've got some good shadows here. And for gaming, this screen is lovely, but for everyday admin, it is going to be a problem. I need to relearn how to do a stealth strike in The Last of Us. How do I get out of here? And in terms of the brightness, there is a fix for the brightness. Sitting in your bedroom at night or sitting in a dark room playing, the standard brightness, the lowest setting, is too bright. It's just way too bright. And I do think it's a Windows thing. And so I've got this little app that I found, a little custom mod by Nelson Pires. And you can set it to stay open and start up when you start the device. And that will bring the dimness. This will lower the brightness even lower. That is really dim, and that's perfect for a low lit situation. And the brightest is, I think it starts at the dimmest setting, but is actually bright enough for most situations. So you'll almost never need to switch the Nelson Pires thingy off. Okay, now I think this is another big one in conjunction with design, is the ergonomics. I think we really need to talk about this. I've developed a little theory over time called the sausage theory. Now, Xbox, I think, are the ones who pioneered this, is just having a long sausage down the side of your controller. Steamdeck followed through with that, where they've got this long sausage, but this part of your hand goes in there, and then your finger is free to use the triggers, which is also a lovely place for your fingers to be. And where Steamdeck took it another step further is they put the buttons next to each other, which makes the device very long, but makes it very ergonomic. Now, this doesn't do this. This does all sorts of things that don't make it ergonomic. It's got these bumps at the bottom, which do serve a purpose in that they sit in the bottom of your hand, okay? But now, the way this is designed, because they wanted this beautiful round edge, this is designed like a PS Vita. It's got this, and then your fingers wrap around. And sometimes it feels like this is actually getting in the way. The most comfortable position is your fingers going into this ridge here, and then there's a bit of an indentation there. So your fingers go in there, and it rests in this the little bump rests in the bottom of your hands here. Fingers go there, and your top finger is ready for trigger action. Now, how that looks in the front is like this. This is great if you're only using the joystick and the action buttons. As soon as I want to use a D-pad, as soon as I want to use the start and select buttons, so what you'll find with this device is you'll constantly be moving your hands around. With the Steamdeck, you never do. You're immediately picking this up. You have a constant feeling of rest. You put your hands there, put your trigger fingers there, your thumbs go here, and your start and selects there. Everything is in these clusters. That is the way to make a controller, friends. Those are the best ergonomics on any device. I prefer the ergonomics on here to an Xbox controller. They just are exceptional. So Steamdeck nailed it. Ayaneo, on the other hand, went for a beautiful device. You'll be proud to put this on your desktop or in your lounge for people to see because it just looks so beautiful. But if they had to play it for 4 hours on end on World of Warcraft or whatever, I don't play World of Warcraft, but some long game, it will be an issue. See, I am not that guy. I am not that guy who plays for hours and hours on end. I sit down for an hour, I play a first-person shooter, I'm a happy man, and I really like pretty designs. And so that's why I've decided this is going to be my personal device for a while, just because it is just so freaking beautiful. It's great to have in videos in the studio. I really like the look of it. I love the screen. I enjoy the fact that I can do work on here. It's a Windows tablet, so there's all sorts of caveats to it. So that's why I have chosen this. But in terms of ergonomics, it is quite behind the pack. One last thing about ergonomics is every single time I pick the Steam Deck up after using this, I have to double check my weight test, which I'll add from the unboxing here, but this feels heavier every single time. And the reason is because you're gripping it, you're carrying the weight with these fingers. Whereas the Steamdeck, you're carrying the weight with the palms of your hands every single time. So when you pick it up, it just feels so light because you're using the stronger part of your hand to pick it up. And I know this is getting very technical, but this is important. If something is precious to you, something that you spend so much money on, and you're the sort of person who plays games for a long period of time, that is going to be an issue. And so this is for travelers, for people who love beautiful design, and people who don't play for huge chunks of time. Okay, so Doom and The Last of Us are my most demanding games right now, and they both played without hassle, even at a high TDP. The frame rate for Last of Us didn't go over 60 frames per second, but there's no audio crackle like I get on the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is doing a whole lot of gymnastics to use a lower powered processor to get the same amount of performance. So the Steam Deck is just a masterful work of engineering. Whereas here we're getting the beautiful screen and we're getting a higher powered processor, and we can play things like The Last of Us without too much hassle. So a big plus here is that I can now play games like Jedi Fallen Order. This does not work on my Steam Deck because it is Linux based. There's some sort of thing with Windows. It's an EA game, which a lot of people get frustrated with. I can get it now playing on this device, and that's a cool thing. So there are going to be, I haven't looked into this too much. I do think the Steam Deck is going to win on compatibility overall, but I do think the fact that Steam are working so hard at making so many games handheld friendly, it's benefiting devices like this. And so you do get some compatibility wins because you are running Windows on the Ayaneo. Now, is Windows terrible? This is interesting because, again, I just recorded a podcast last night with Carrie, the Fox, and he shared an anecdotal story with me of a chap sitting at the airport with the ROG Ally X, and he kind of wanted to know, why are you using a Windows-based handheld? What is drawing you to this? Why don't you just get a Steam Deck? He said, and I'm misquoting, but basically he just said it fits into his life. He's familiar with Windows, and Windows for him is a benefit. And I think I am in that camp. Because I run a Windows laptop every day with DaVinci Resolve and all of my things, moving over from there to here is lovely. For me, Windows is a huge feature. I posted a question on my YouTube channel asking, what do you love, what do you hate about a Windows-based handheld? And most of people said the same thing. TechDweeb also commented there where they said things like the pop-ups and the constant updates and all that while you're trying to play a game, some compatibility issues, needing to tweak things here and there, constantly fiddling with it. But everyone said the versatility of Windows, having Windows to do other things is so handy. And that is the same for me. Being able to have my messaging services on here, being able to browse on my browser that I want to use. Every time I look up an app, like for instance, even emulators, there's always a Windows version. I was worried about battery management. I am pleased to say that the sleep mode works great. I put it to sleep, woke up the next morning, and maybe lost 4 or 5%. The sleep mode actually works on you, which is exceptional. That is a big deal. It almost never works on my laptop. In comparison, as a dedicated handheld, as a dedicated gaming handheld to do nothing else but gaming, the Steam Deck is going to win every single time. If someone says to me they want something affordable that plays most games very well and is just easy to use. For instance, I'm giving this to a non-tech family member to use to play games because I know that they're going to enjoy this and they're not going to have to fiddle with it. The Ayaneo 2S, they're definitely going to have to fiddle with it to get it where they want it to be. Now, where the Ayaneo shines is the fact that you're getting a dockable Windows tablet with gaming controls. That is the win. That is the selling point here. And so far, the battery life is pretty good. So my battery testing, I wanted to talk about this has a 50.25 watt hour battery. The Ally X has I think it's an 80 watt hour. I'll do a fact check there. So it's got a much bigger battery. That's one of the big selling points of the Ally X. And then the Steam Deck has a 40 watt hour battery, but this thing is just a marvel of modern engineering. So you're going to probably get better battery life out of the Steam Deck. And this was sitting the more I use it, the more 2 hours is my sweet spot in terms of how much battery life I get out of it. A full charge on the fast charger, you get 1 hour, 30 minutes to charge it to full. That was with some things running in the backgrounds and the screen on. I played Doom and The Last of Us and some other games. I hovered around 24 TDP and I got 1 hour and 53 minutes of game time. The screen was sort of at a medium setting. Actually, it was at the lowest setting without that mod installed. And then general gaming at 14 watts, that's the balance setting now that I've realized they have here. So 14 watts, 30 FPS. After 1 hour and 1.5 hours, I had 28% left on the battery. I had to leave to go do something. And so, again, I was going to end up at about 2 hours, 10 minutes, 2 hours, 20 minutes. I will report back on more battery life testing. But yeah, you're not going to get amazing battery life on here. But if you drop it down to that saving power mode of 6 watts, and you try to play a few games here and there, you're going to get to play like really low-end games, maybe some story-based games, some role-player games, that sort of thing. And then you can get quite a bit of battery life, probably up to 3 hours. So not amazing, not awful either. And then using Steam on Windows. So as I mentioned, I am mostly a Steam user. And so what I did was you're able to set Steam to open in big picture whenever you open it. So you go to settings, you go to interface, and you say start Steam in big picture mode. I also set in the AYASPACE thing to press and hold this RC button to open Steam. So that's pretty cool. Got that going. And also there's what I'm calling the love, like the attention to detail. These LEDs are just so beautifully implemented. These function buttons, even though they're kind of in the wrong place, feel lovely. Even though I harped on how weird this SD card holder is, and how that metal thing keeps coming out, it's a thoughtful thing. They thought about this and they thought, let's make it nice and interesting. The fact that they included USB-C to USB-A adapters, 2 of them, so that you can plug them in here, and if you don't have a dock, you can just put this on your desk and use it. And there were complaints about these strips, but if you open it, you're going to scratch the device. So what they did was they included special stickers. They included a pry tool. They showed you how to put the stickers on, how to pry it, and not scratch the device so that you could get to the screws and open the device. Who does that? Who pays attention to that little detail? That charger, the PD charger that comes with this, the 4 ports, the printing on the charger itself, just little attention to detail things like that do actually make this, if you want to buy a special gift for someone, this is really it. Like, this is a Christmas gift because it's just so special, like everything about it. And that brings me on to these accessories, because you've got this lovely case with this embossed Ayaneo on the front. It is a washable white material. It is going to get dirty. Nice little zips, a gray grip thingies on the zips. Inside is nice and soft and plush. It's a hard case, and I don't think you're going to get this anywhere else except their website. So definitely check that out when you order, because you're going to want to travel with this thing. They also have a screen guard if you want to get a screen guard. Not sure if that was really necessary because the glass on here is pretty damn good. And you can get some stick caps. These are the concave stick caps. I have put them on, and I'm actually not sure. I'm not a big stick cap guy, but I think I might just leave them on. I'm enjoying them. Nice little stick caps. So pricing. The LIX is the major competitor, and so I converted the price locally to dollars because I can't get it anywhere else except South Africa. And so the LIX, 120 hertz screen, this only has a 60 hertz screen, and a big 80 watt hour battery, I think it is. So better battery, better screen. And that is $1,100 in South Africa. The Ayaneo, now I'm shipping it from China, free shipping, is $911.20. So it is cheaper right now. It's on sale and they have free shipping. And so anyone shopping for something fancy, this is a great option. It's cheaper and it does a lot of things really well. So I want to talk about this now. How would you justify this cost? When I started this hobby, I was shocked at how much money people spend on gaming. I was just buying these little retro gaming devices and I couldn't believe how expensive these things were. I was just playing my PC games on my PC, and that's how I justified it. This is a work computer, so I bought a gaming laptop to play my games. The Ayaneo 2S is that. It's not as powerful as my gaming laptop, but it can do a lot of what my gaming laptop can do. It's more compact, it's a tablet, and it can play games in a cooler way. And so If you dock this, you can travel with this. The versatility of Windows, it cannot be understated. If I was purchasing a gaming device now, like I bought the Steamdeck because I have this channel and I have the luxury of doing that. Got it because it probably is the best and most functional and most user-friendly x86 handheld on the market right now. But if I was spending my money and I needed a new laptop, I could justify the cost of this to my wife to say, I can use this for work. I can work anywhere with it. It's a tablet, and then I can also play games on it, which that is cool. But it is very versatile. And so if I was spending my money now without the YouTube channel, I would probably buy an ROG Ally or the Ayaneo 2S because of all that versatility. Okay, so things I don't like so far with the Ayaneo 2S. It's not the best ergonomics in this class of device. I'm getting used to the grip, but the button placement along with that grip is not great. The start and select are actually the thing that annoyed me the most about the button layout on this device. The vibration motor, that is a bit of a fail on this device. I'm not sure what's going on there, but it feels like a Nokia 3310. I literally woke my wife up with her asking me what is buzzing, and that's never happened, apart from one of these cheap Linux handhelds. Clackety action buttons and triggers, the SD card door is fiddly, Windows is not for everyone. So those are the things that could possibly be dislikes. But the things that I like so far is the general feeling in hand. Although the ergonomics aren't the best, I do look forward to picking this handheld up and holding it in my hands. It's pretty good performance. The accessories like the charger and the case are really nice. The versatility of Windows cannot be understated. I think that is a massive selling point. And the design, I think that is the second biggest selling point. It is probably the most beautiful x86 handheld on the market today. So what do I think? Had Ayaneo not sent this to me, would I consider this as a device to buy? Like, definitely, emphatically yes. The design is just, I'm all about this design. And like I said, justifying this kind of cost, this is a big cost. This is a lot of money. Justifying it, being able to do work on you as well. I couldn't justify this to my wife as a cost had I not had the YouTube channel, because it just is so expensive just for gaming. Whereas here, I've got a workhorse and a gaming device.